We move through the world assuming we are in control. We view our choices, words, and behaviors as the result of deliberate, conscious thought. Yet, neuroscience suggests that up to 95% of our cognitive activity occurs below the threshold of conscious awareness. We operate as passengers in a biological machine. It is a system built over millennia to prioritize survival and processing speed over objective accuracy. These hidden mechanisms dictate how we perform at work, how we react in our relationships, and how we view our potential, often without our explicit consent. To regain influence over these outcomes, we must identify the specific forces running this autopilot system. In every second of your life, your senses receive roughly 11 million bits of information. Your conscious mind is capable of processing about 40. This diagram illustrates the brain's aggressive filter. To survive this data load, it utilizes cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that allow for instant categorization. One example is the halo effect. If a coworker appears confident and well-dressed, your brain may automatically categorize them as competent, even before they have demonstrated any specific skills. You can interrupt this shortcut by pausing to look for evidence. Ask yourself whether your assessment is based on the person's performance or a snap judgment of their appearance. Processing contradicting information carries a biological cost. This creates confirmation bias. The brain accepts validating data while reflexively rejecting challenges. This energy-saving mechanism keeps us in echo chambers, drawing us towards news and circles that confirm existing beliefs. To counter this, make a practice of seeking out one intelligent opposing viewpoint before making a major decision. It forces the brain to engage with the data it would otherwise ignore. Our drive for processing efficiency distorts how we perceive reality, keeping our decisions bound to these unconscious filters. The brain also monitors the external environment for social cues. Social influence is a direct result of our biological imperative to remain part of a group. For early humans, social rejection was a death sentence. Today, brain scans show that exclusion activates the same neurological pain centers as a physical injury. This manifests in professional settings as conformity. You might find yourself agreeing with a team strategy you know is flawed, simply to avoid the neurological discomfort of being the lone dissenter. When you feel the urge to agree, pause. Observe whether your consensus is genuine or if it is a reaction to the discomfort of standing out. While we seek safety in groups, we also chase the dopamine reward system. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine is not about pleasure. It is the chemical of anticipation and craving. Modern technology is engineered to trigger this craving. The variable timing of notifications on a smartphone keeps the brain in a constant state of anticipation, much like a slot machine. You can break this loop by introducing physical friction. Moving your phone to a different room during periods of work makes the craving more difficult to satisfy. These mechanisms were once essential for survival. In the modern world, however, they can be exploited to keep us in a cycle of reactive behavior. We can intervene in these processes through metacognition, the ability to think about our own thinking. This allows us to observe our impulses rather than simply following them. Metacognition begins with emotional intelligence. This is the practice of treating emotions as concentrated data points rather than irrational impulses. If you feel a surge of anger while reading an email, that anger is information. Recognizing the feeling allows you to evaluate the situation logically before you respond. By labeling the emotion, stating, "I am feeling frustrated," you change the brain's activity. This diagram shows how labeling shifts the signal from the reactive amygdala to the logical prefrontal cortex. This ability to regulate immediate emotions is what allows us to look at our long-term potential more objectively. When we stop being reactive, we can adopt a growth mindset, believing that our abilities are things we can develop over time. For example, instead of concluding, "I'm not a natural leader" after a difficult meeting, a growth mindset views the failure as data, indicating that you need to work on specific management skills. You can begin this shift by adding the word "yet" to your internal dialogue. You haven't mastered a skill, yet. This frames a current limitation as a temporary state. Developing these internal skills allows us to move from reacting to our environment to consciously interpreting it. These new interpretations eventually lead to physical changes in the brain through neuroplasticity. The brain is a dynamic system that changes its structure based on repeated habits. When neurons fire together, they wire together. As shown here, repeated behaviors physically strengthen neural pathways, making the new habit easier to perform over time. Consider the effort required to learn how to drive. What was once an exhausting, conscious process eventually becomes automatic. The brain physically adapted to the repeated task. Consistency allows you to cultivate these biological pathways intentionally. With enough repetition, a new way of thinking becomes the brain's path of least resistance. Understanding these 7 mechanisms provides the clarity needed to move through life with greater awareness. When you understand the science of your own behavior, you are no longer a victim of your impulses. You can take control of your choices and begin the physical process of rewiring your brain.